Pranam Master. I bow down to your golden lotus feet. I have a question about gender and gender confusion, Master. Can you please explain us?
Okay. So the word gender, first of all. Okay. So word gender is formed of like two words. Okay. The word gender has two words in it. Number one, gene, and second word is end. Okay. So gender means the last formation of gene or the end of gene. Okay. So whatever the form genes take in a solid state, that is what you call as gender. Okay. So now gender can be of three types. One, it can be a male. Second, it can be a female. Third, it can be a transgender, which is mix of male and female. Okay, so that's the meaning of the word gender. Okay, now just like a water drop, okay, it gets evaporated, turns into air, it falls back again on earth as raindrop, water, and solidifies into ice. Similarly, the spirit is a light drop which falls on earth, gets solidified into a specific form, and it carries the information in its gene code. And that is what you call as genetic code, or as the modern science says about DNA. It carries all the evolutionary data based on the evolutionary inputs, and it gets solidified into a specific form on Earth. And that's what people look at as the body. Okay, so male body means biologically the male reproductive system. Female body means biologically female reproductive system. Transgender body means a mix of male and female reproductive system. Okay, so that's the basic set of genders that we have in nature. Now, apart from that, now there is a gender confusion in the world. Okay, now you see the genes. Okay, in each being, it solidifies as a specific gender, right? And where is it defined? It's defined in the womb of the mother. In the mother's womb itself, it is fixed by nature itself, by natural process, that whether it will be a male or a female or a transgender. Okay, so that is what the basic genetics all about for defining the male and the female or the transgender. The gender confusion appears in the world when the gene is mutated. Okay, so let's say some gene expression is mute, and when that gene expression is mute, so the being is taking birth as a male or a female, but because the gene expression is mute, so they want to complete their self by expressing as per the other gender or the opposite gender. Okay, now you see, let's say if XX or XY, as the modern science says, the gene is defining whether it is going to be a female or a male, right? So if the gene expression is mute by addition or deletion of a gene, okay, then if a being is born as male in the body biologically, but they want to complete their self by taking up the qualities of the opposite gender. Okay, and that's what the natural process also is. A female completes a male completes a female. The nature itself is feminine, and it's only the masculine quality which completes it. Sun, moon, masculine, feminine qualities. Even in a being, whether male, only the female completes the male, and female only is the proof of male's fertility, and male only is the proof of female's fertility. Right? So how would one know whether the male is fertile or not? It's only because of the female. If one is able to conceive through a female. How would one know that the female is fertile? Only when one is able to conceive through a male, right? So a male gets completed with female and female gets completed with male. And so when the gene is mutated, when gene is mute, so that expression itself of the body gets mute, but they identify themselves as the opposite gender, right? So that's what you see in the world. Today, it has become like a very big thing, but people don't understand this thing, that how would this whole process is carried out in the world knowingly to give birth to an infertile race. Okay, so because the agenda is to create an infertile race, then put the technology in them and rule them like for eternity. Okay, so when they want to enslave beings, so they want to kill their actual natural expression. And that is how even the traits are defined in that manner. Okay, whether a male or a female, now you see the traits are defined in that way. There is a specific set of traits which are defined in the world. Only then one is considered as male, only then one is considered as a female. And that's how the whole gender confusion is created in the world. Firstly, we take up the women. Okay, right. So you see in the world what is happening. In the world itself, you will see the women are like pumped up with all this empowerment, this thing, then feminism, all that new ways things are brought onto the like world stage. New way things are injected into the brains of the people so that they feel firstly incomplete, unequal, and disempowered. And then at the same time, they would like to behave like men. They want to equalize their self to men. Okay. So if women in the world would get trapped into this whole thing, okay, which they're already, which they already are trapped in that whole thing of like women empowerment and feminism, right? Or the women equality. Okay, on the name of equality, they are just taught to behave like men, and by opening that door of equality and empowerment, they have attracted a lot of hell on themselves. Okay, because their duties have not gone down in the world. They have to naturally, because nature has created them like in a different way. So when they don't understand their natural process, and then they get trapped into this whole establishment created agenda or establishment based agenda of women equality or women empowerment or feminism. So ultimately what happens? They want to become like men. Okay, they want to behave like men. They have to be at the work. They have to be at home. They have to be taking care of the children. They have to be taking care of everything. And this is what they have asked for. This is what they wanted. This is what they have demanded from the world, that we want equality. Okay.
Master, very much exploited.
Yes. So but at the same time, I mean, who asked for this exploitation? Who got trapped in this whole agenda of exploitation? Okay. So they themselves wanted it, and many women fell for it. And they started with this whole campaigning and whole social work and all that agenda, so that women comes into like work. Okay. But you want to make it equal, then it has to be with men as well. So men also have to give birth then. And if women behave like men, then the first thing that is going to happen in their body is the alchemy is going to change, because your body is formed of 5 elements. Okay. You are in a 5 elemental body, and the way you behave, the way you speak, the way your attitude is, similarly, your alchemy of your body is going to change. And it's a natural thing. Your body will change its alchemy naturally. Okay. Now, when the driver itself is behaving like a man, so obviously the vehicle has to arrange everything like a man. Okay. So the vehicle, which is body, it begins to behave like that because there is a electrical signaling which is working in the body, and it creates the genetic expression of a man. And that is why you will see there is a lot of problems of like PCOD or PCOS, and then hormonal imbalance, and then all this like cancerous disease have come up, like whether breast cancer or cervical cancer. So all these diseases are like because they don't want to use that function of the body. Otherwise, women naturally is created to be the epitome of beauty, elegance, grace. Okay. And where whole kit of charge is created, that is called kitchen. And that was only given to the women. it was always under the supervision of the women, which is like, or the whole family unit is under you to take care of the alchemy, which was like a very big responsibility, because alchemy only defines whether you are going to be like a pure being or impure being or mixed being, which is like Sat, Raj, or Tam. Okay, so that is how the mode of the being was given in the hands of the women. So therefore, women were given the function of nourishment. That's why they have the trees growing milk in them, which is called breast. That's how a woman body is created naturally. So they were to give birth. That means they have to bear the fruit of a generation. They have to nourish the beings. Firstly, when children are there, then to nourish the infants through milk. And then the kitchen works like the same breast work, where the women will take care of the alchemy of the whole family. So that was a big responsibility given to them. And now, because there is total natural disconnection, there is no understanding of these things with the alchemy or the natural processes. So now the women have fallen trapped to this whole equality or feminism or empowerment. And I consider it like a completely disempowerment. Okay, women empowerment is a total disempowerment, because equality itself doesn't exist. There is no thing as equality, because both are created in different way. Both functions are different altogether, but both functions complete each other, as I said in the beginning itself.
Yes, Master. Can you please explain about man
Okay,
and confusion?
right. So you see now the whole confusion is created among women. Okay, and if in a society, if you want to make women behave like men, okay, and then in that society, obviously men would behave like women. Okay, and as per the Bollywood, Hollywood standards of women. Okay, and if men behave like women, so what would happen? You see, okay, then what would happen? Then the simplest thing is, obviously there will be like whole confusion in the world again in the gender. Okay, so because men cannot bear children, naturally impossible. Okay, so just like in case of women, the beauty standards are like completely, cut nose, filled lips and cheeks, swollen face, duck lips, and then whole like outer proportion body. So that is considered to be like a beauty standard in the world today, where the word uh, actual elegance does not exist. Right. So actual elegance does not exist in that matter. Right. So there's no actual elegance in that body, but that body is more out of proportion. Right. So where women were created to be like nature. So women are like image of nature. Just like nature has trees, women has their tree. Nature bear fruits, women bear fruits. Okay. Nature nourishes, women nourishes. Right. So nature educates, gives common sense. Women were supposed to give education and common sense, but women lost it because of whole establishment agenda. And then similarly, in case of men, now men were created in the image of knowledge, okay, which is called Gnan. Women were Prakriti, nature. Men were created as knowledge, Gnan. Okay, now Prakriti and Gnan means nature and knowledge completes itself. Okay, they complement each other. Now knowledge takes the backseat in case of men. Okay, when knowledge takes the backseat, what remains? Because people are only at the body conscious. They don't have mind conscious, intelligence conscious, or spirit conscious. So they are only at the body conscious. So in case of women, it is only the external body. In case of men, also it is the external body. In case of women, the naturality doesn't matter. In case of the men, knowledge doesn't matter. Now, in case of men, also the body is the first thing to consider, the first thing to be considered as masculine. Okay. So otherwise, masculine quality was more knowledge based. But here you will see gym body is considered to be more masculine. Okay, only gym body, right? So more stiff, H-shaped body is considered masculine. And you will not find the body in any of the real divine beings. Okay, you look at picture of any divine being, you will never see six packs or like the body like a macho or whatever the male bravado is shown today in the world. So you will not find that, right? So
So
when
where does the sorry, Master, where does this come from? Macho.
okay, see this whole thing comes from only because of the influence that we have in the world. Okay, because beast only wants to have a body, beastly body. They cannot have like a real divine brain. Okay, when you cannot have access to a divine brain, obviously then body becomes like the only parameter. Okay, then people want to just boast their body, bigger bodies. They don't have anything to boast as knowledge. They don't have anything called knowledge to actually present or speak or orchestrate. They don't have any connection with nature. They don't have any influence on nature, or nature doesn't have any influence on them. Okay, so then obviously when the whole world is about the body consciousness, so then everything becomes like a body parameter, whether the beauty standards or the masculinity or femininity. Okay, women lost naturality, men lost knowledge. So ultimately, there is a total confusion. Who is a man? Who is a woman? Because both want to show up their body like to the whole world. So they both want to show their body to the world. They both want to orchestrate their body. Okay, and only the beastly body is considered to be masculine. There's no other parameter. Okay, but so you will see in case of men also there are a lot of disease today in the world. So it's a very simple fact that if women will start behaving like a man, so obviously man would not choose a man, right? So man would not like to have a
Yes,
companion
Master.
with a man. So ultimately they have to end it. Okay. So no man would like to marry a man. That's not a natural thing to do. Okay. So that's how the world is gone into like total confusion. And if men will behave like women, obviously no woman would like to marry another woman. That's not very natural. So that's how the whole confusion has become today in the world. So it's like a total confusion in the world today.
So, Master, what is about third gender?
Okay. See, we discussed about the women, we discussed about the men. Okay. Now, the first and the foremost thing about a spirit turning into a man or a woman is based on the expression that it wants to take up. Okay, that's how the gene ends as matter, as the earthly body. Okay, it is about a role that the spirit want to express, or the spirit in its or the spirit in its evolutionary journey. Now it wants to take up another role, whether as a man or a woman. Okay, because the expression of a woman is different from a man, and so it is different from a transgender, right? If you will see, the learnings of a woman are entirely different, because whatever a woman has to carry, like they have to maintain their hygiene every month. So that becomes the first thing that they have to learn in their life, to maintain their hygiene every month, how to take care of the body hygiene. Whatever body they take up, they have to learn to maintain their hygiene. Okay, so that's the first lesson that a woman has to learn. In case of men, they have to learn to seed, which body to seed. Okay, so that's the lesson for a man body. Now there's a body which is born as a transgender. Okay, here we are talking about the body which is born as transgender, not the transhumans. Okay, because transgenders are entirely different from the transhumans. Okay, transgender means the being is born with a mixed genitalia of a male and a female. Okay, it has no clear expression of a male or a female. It is not fertile as male or a female. It has a mixed genitalia of a man and a woman. Okay, because the woman or man are both like mankind. Okay, but the only difference between man and a woman is a womb. Okay, woman is also a man, but it's a man with a womb, because both are kind of man body. It's a man kind. But in case of transgenders, that expression is not very clear. Okay, that's the first thing. But they are born like that, and their genetic expression is also not muted. Okay, if you look at the word mutation or genetic mutation, so that simply means there is something which is mute. Okay. If you continue to mute an expression, ultimately you gain that genetic mutation. For example, in the world also today, people are learning to be mute, not silence. So people are learning to be mute, not silent. Okay. So when they continue to learn to be mute, so ultimately in upcoming births, their specific genetic expression gets muted or mutated. So ultimately, there are two things to mutate or mute a genetic expression. Number one, behavior. You continue to mute it, it gets mutated. Okay. Second, alchemical mutation or chemical mutation, which is through the wrong foods, the pharma, medicine, all kind of drugs which they put into body for their health as supplement or something. So ultimately, their expression gets mutated. Okay. So in case of transgenders, so they are born like that. They have no mutation in their expression, but they don't have clear expression of a gender. Okay. So there is no gender confusion, at least among transgenders. Now there is a huge population in the world today where the total gender confusion is among the men and the women. Now, why is that? Okay. So the only reason behind that is chemical mutation. Now, chemical mutation comes through the genetically modified food, the injections, the vaccines, the kind of drugs all their life they're exposed to. And ultimately, the gender confusion appears. And it all begins from the mother's womb. That is why they all say they are born like that, which majority are not. But they are born like that because there is a genetic mutation in them. And that genetic mutation does not allow them to express their self as the gender that they are biologically born with. Okay, now what is the best possible expression for them? Now let's go to the story of hermaphrodite or the story of Ardhanarishwara. Okay, for a man, the completion factor is a female. For a female, the completion factor is a male. So when the male factor is mutated, so the best possible expression is female, which completes them. So they by default naturally choose to be a female or express as females. Okay. Then in case of women or in case of girls, when they are born biologically with the female reproductive system, but because their genetic expression inside is mute, so ultimately the best possible expression for them is male. So they behave like men. Okay. So that completes them basically. Okay. Although that confusion will continue to remain because ultimately a man cannot produce with a man, a woman cannot produce with a woman. Okay. So
It's a big confusion.
right. So that whole process becomes like total unnatural process. Now you see, if there is something unnatural, so that means what is rejected is nature. Right. So unnatural also means artificial. So when you become unnatural, ultimately effects are also unnatural, artificial. Just like we have artificial intelligence, real intelligence doesn't mean anything. Okay. So similarly, in case of gender confusion as well. So this unnatural gender confusion, which is created from the gene code itself today, is a byproduct of all unnatural practices that this human civilization has chosen over a period of time, over centuries and centuries. Whether it is genetically modifying the crops to beings. They wanted to create a new race. They wanted to create a more advanced race, but they've landed into whole infertile race. Now you see, to have a child also today in the world has become like a very big thing. Okay, because neither men are fertile or nor women are fertile today. They have all kind of problems in their body, all kind of dysfunctions in their body. And that's because of all unnatural practices, all unnatural inputs, all unnatural behaviors. So when you choose to behave unnatural or whenever you choose unnatural things, ultimately those affect you directly in your genes. And that's what whole alchemy is about. Okay. And ultimately what happens? You have a new transhuman race. So transgenderism and transhumanism are entirely two different things. But there is a confusion in the genes itself because that confusion is induced, created knowingly. And then you see ultimately that whole rainbow thing also is like an opposite rainbow. It's not a Vibgyor rainbow. It's like
Yes,
our it's like a reverse.
exact opposite, Master.
Yeah. So it's
I
like
was
a
to
reverse
ask
Vibgyor,
you,
right? So it's not an ascension thing. It is dissension thing.
Ji Master.
So that's very clear in the world today. So this confusion will continue until people don't choose nature or until people don't turn to be natural.
So, Master, where will we achieve this human race with this kind of confusions?
You see in the world today, okay, so we can clearly say that this cannot go like this anymore, or it cannot just go like that. It cannot work like that. Okay, so that's a very simple thing. So this confusion has to end and people have to become aware. And until you see how the genetics are carried, how one carries the genes, or it comes from both the parents. Okay, so to so that what does that mean? So that means when parents are planning to have a child, they have to have total nature involved with them. Then the natural process occurs. If they're eating all junk, all unnatural food, all processed food, all genetically modified food, and they think their body is well supplemented with all that, so ultimately you will have that genetic mutation in your upcoming generations. So gene generation, generational, gender is all same thing. Okay, so the spirit arrives into a different body altogether. So if parents are unnatural, obviously the children would be unnatural at the same time. If parents are natural, then okay, certainly their next generation would be natural. So this has led to a total infertile race. This has led to all kind of problems in the world.
Even authorities have permitted such relationships and confusions, I think.
That's the people, like those are the people who create these agendas. I mean, no pharma industry runs without their approval. No organization or establishment run without their approval or validation. So they're well approved at the world stage. So they're well approved at the world level. So they are well accepted by the world people. So that's why these confusions are. And those standards have to change for female also, for male also, for transgenders also. That's how the world has to be. Then only the things can change. And that can only happen when people move into nature, when people choose nature over the unnatural. Then their senses can respond naturally.